that, read that, stay in the book. When I leave home, I stay in the book. When my spirit low, I stay in the book. When I need more, I stay in the book. When I need I stay in the book. When I need to grow, I stay in the book. When I feel low, I stay in the book. I stay in the book. I stay in the book. Quote that, read that, stay in the book. When I leave home, I stay in the book. When my spirit low, I stay in the book. When I need more, I stay in the book. When I need I stay in the book. When I need to grow, I stay in the book. When I feel low, I stay in the book. I stay in the book. I stay in the book. Y'all been rock the body. How so much power coming out my body. I can turn water to the potent yayin. Wish we had this when they smoked the Mayans. Quote that, read that, folks is lying. They never gon' teach what was written by them. They know the outcome don't provoke the lion. It's potent, so focus and don't deny it. I just take a hit and I'm choking by it. The Lord got smoke for the Goyim tyrants. They gon' get hit when your boy inspired. The Lord made vengeance with the words of Kayim. They live by the sword, so they dying by it. And I speak the word with the sword of fire. We above the birds, we are ordered higher. The border deserve the fire. Like quote that, read that, stay in the book. When I leave home, I stay in the book. When my spirit low, I stay in the book. When I need more, I stay in the book. When I need I stay in the book. When I need to grow, I stay in the book. When I feel low, I stay in the book. I stay in the book. I stay in the book. Quote that, read that, stay in the book. When I leave home, I stay in the book. When my spirit low, I stay in the book. When I need more, I stay in the book. When I need I stay in the book. When I need to grow, I stay in the book. When I feel low, I stay in the book. I stay in the book. I stay in the book. Yabaraka Yadi. Feel the spirit moving through my soul and body. Everything I touch turn to gold and probably. If I stay in the spirit, I behold the godly. People learn to God when they strolling by me. Get a hold of God when I'm holding Bobley. Wrapped in a word like it's Cole and Mari. Cause I stay in this place like Cole and Tommy. Bold in the face of the Roman century. Molding my sons to be my own infantry. Protecting my wife when I hold her gently. Teaching my daughter how to know a mission. But sometimes I slip. And I lose my grip. And I lose my wisdom. So that's why I do this. I quote that, read that, stay in the book. When I leave home, I stay in the book. When my spirit low, I stay in the book. When I need more, I stay in the book. When I need I stay in the book. When I need to grow, I stay in the book. When I feel low, I stay in the book. I stay in the book. I stay in the book. Quote that, read that, stay in the book. When I leave home, I stay in the book. When my spirit low, I stay in the book. When I need more, I stay in the book. When I need I stay in the book. When I need to grow, I stay in the book. When I feel low, I stay in the book. I stay in the book. I stay in the book. Don't slip, don't fall. Don't let the demons move your spirit, stand tall. This is a test, we're playing for. When you're serving the Lord, they come for you. Don't slip, don't fall. Don't let the demons move your spirit, stand tall. This is a test, playing for. When you're serving the Lord, they come for you. Don't slip, don't fall. Don't let the demons move your spirit, stand tall. This is a test, we're playing for. When you're serving the Lord, they come for you. Don't slip, don't fall. Don't let the demons move your spirit, stand tall. This a test, playing for. When you're serving the Lord, they come for you. We be conceited in faith when demons are placed to get us. We need to escape, but demons know where to hit us. We leaning away, I'm seeing your faith is shifting. But just remember that we need to be saved. We be conceited in faith when demons are placed to get us. We need to escape, but demons know where to hit us. We leaning away, I'm seeing your faith is shifting. But just remember that we need to be saved. We be conceited in faith when demons are placed to get us. We need to escape, but demons know where to hit us. We leaning away, I'm seeing your faith is shifting. But just remember that we need to be saved. We be conceited in faith when demons are placed to get us. We need to escape, but demons know where to hit us. We leaning away, I'm seeing your faith is shifting. But just remember that we need to be saved. This isn't. Don't slip, don't fall. Don't let the demons move your spirit, stand tall. This is a test, we're playing for. When you're serving the Lord, they come for you. it out in my ride. So much on my mind, just trying to catch a vibe. Thinking about my people, it seems they all blind. They thinking they know the truth, but no, not of the 12 tribe. Some say we a nation that's built up on tribulation. Some say we was taken and put in this situation. I say honestly, man, it's a little bit of both. Just take it from a nigga who parents native and Haitian. White folks stole my people's land, but we gon' take it back, cause the most I put the power in our hands. Yeah, we going straight reprimand, cause the people did us dirty and never got punished. From here to France, they out here preaching peace, but to us ain't none given. Convince us to protest, but disregard how we living. Well, soon y'all gon' know how we feeling. Yeah, how is coming back to prove to you that you ain't been forgiven. I'ma break it to you now that with this joint ain't no hook. The aristocrats on the mic pushing them words like a book. I'm anointed and I'm a saint and I got these niggas shook. I'm a Dan, prince of the power and I can't be forsook. I think it's unfortunate that y'all couldn't face the facts. You so confused, you can't seem to break down Romans and Acts. When I teach, y'all got me losing all of my patience. Hear the word Israelite and then it turns to Galatians. Honestly, y'all need to do some investigating. My people acknowledge but still fighting for education. Broke them shackles off of my mind and set me free. Now, Father, y'all got me thinking immortal relation. Try and wake y'all up, but you suckers being complacent. Shot that nigga in the street, but how you grew up so chasing. Take a nigga life for a little bit of wealth just to spend that shit and move back into your mama's basement. Now you become a Muslim so that your life don't get taken. Boy, assalamu alaikum, bean pies, green eggs, and bacon. Allah just the title, not the name of the Most High. You a Israelite, soon to be seeing revelation. Hey, now they saying the prince is lyrical. I'm ruling this thing, but it ain't nothing empirical. Yahweh shots at the comforter, got me feeling spiritual. Yasha Allah on the rise, I ain't even hit the pinnacle. Hey, y'all know ain't too many better than I start varsity on this mic, I even got a letterman. Skills concrete solid, I ain't talking settlement. Reppin' the Anointed House, man, you know we killing it. Hey, this time around, y'all better get a ticket. This youngin' hit a bomb like the 96 Olympics. Mess with the men of the Lord, might end up in the clinic. We taking the kingdom soon, 1 hour, 0 minutes.
All right. Shalom, y'all. Shalom. Who? Y'all put a 7 in the chat if you can hear me, so I know I could go ahead and get started. That's right, funny. Sorry, Boy, trying to leave y'all hanging. Just got home late. You know what I'm saying? I'm by myself today, so all right, good. Everybody can hear me. All praises. All right, man. Well, shalom. Sorry I left y'all, ladies and gentlemen, last week, but had to go see my girl. But yeah, man, I'm back. So today, got a quick little jump back into things lesson for y'all, right? Before we get started, Knock is in the hospital. He got like some type of infection or something. Nothing like that, but like he's sick. So he been sick and had to go to the hospital and he had to do some type of procedure or something. So y'all pray for the brother, all right? That's why he not here. So, but nevertheless, we're gonna go ahead and keep the day started, or get the day started, keep the day going rather, right? So start by giving all honor and praise to the Most High Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Yahweh Shai. That is in the name of his son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. All right. My brother all or Eliel, Captain Eliel of the Anointed House of Saints. That's where you at now, if you didn't know. Today I kind of just wanted to go over Ephesians 2 a little bit. Not all of it, obviously, because most of it that people would have a discrepancy about whether, Christ actually, or Paul actually was saying that Christ did away with the law. We're not going to talk about that today. We've kind of had that conversation before. It's not really the angle I want to go at today with this. I don't honestly know. I ain't asked him that when he told me on the phone. I don't know. He just told me they were sending him up there. He was at the doctor, and then they was going to send him to the hospital to get the little thing done so he could go home. But told him don't rush to get on class tonight or nothing like that. That jump more important. So, just want y'all to pray for him. He should be nothing serious. So he should be straight from what he told me. So, but pray for him. You know what I'm saying? Just to make sure. So. All right. So, as I was saying, kind of just wanted to go into Ephesians 2 a little bit. Kind of give you guys the understanding, because something I've seen or that I saw that I noticed that was going around when them Christians, the Christian apologetic dudes that be running around with vocab, right? God Logic and them other idiots and stuff. I saw that them people that roll with them after they were doing their little commentary on these little classes and stuff, this was a precept they're bringing up a lot to try and make it seem like the Gentiles Paul is now allowing to, come into this thing, if you will, in Ephesians, that he's talking about in Ephesians 2 that were never really, or not never really, but they at the time weren't really allowed to take part in the covenant. You know what I'm saying? Now he's basically there in Ephesians, letting them know in the letter that like to the Ephesians in chapter 2 that these Gentiles that he's talking to are actually going to have the opportunity to, I guess, partake, right? And he's letting them know. A lot of them counted themselves unworthy, but now he's letting them know that they're going to be able to partake as they, unlike how they were before Paul, because Paul being a prophet to the Gentile, right? He's giving them a certain light that they didn't have before, or just giving them the opportunity to repent and come back to the lost statutes commandments that they weren't attached to, right? And I say come back because the people Paul was talking to that were Gentiles were Israelites, which we'll prove that in the book of Romans in a little bit. But that's kind of the angle I wanted to go at. So the reason I wanted to go over this lesson today. So we'll start with Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, "Wherefore remember that ye being in past time Gentiles in the flesh," right? So we typically read something similar to this when we're going over things to prove that these Israelites are the Israelites that are the Gentiles here that Paul is talking about, right? There's scriptures like 1 Corinthians chapter 12, which I could pull that real quick. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1. It reads, "Now concerning spiritual gifts, brethren, because Paul is a brother of the Israelites. He's of the tribe of Benjamin, right? Those would be his people according to the flesh, right? Who are Israelites. So that being the whole deal, y'all give me a second. It's been a week. You know what I mean? I gotta get back on my stuff. But so that being the case with them, right? Them being his brethren according to the flesh, he's going to refer to them as brethren a lot. And you see he does that not just in the book of Corinthians, but the book of Ephesians and the book of the Romans and the book of Thessalonians, all these different books that Paul is in. The people that he's talking to, he always refers to as his brethren. Reason why is because they are technically his brethren, not in the Christian sense, but they're literally Israelites, right? Most of them in which are Israelites living as or amongst a whole lot of heathen, aka Gentiles, right? Which is why these people were called Gentiles. There's also history as to why they were called Gentiles that most Israelite camps talk about, right? Which would be things like First Maccabees chapter 6, where we weren't allowed to keep any feast days, call ourselves Jews and stuff like that. Which that being in around 300 BC, 300 BC to 1 AD when Christ is around, right? 65, 64, 55, 44 AD when Paul is around. That's over 300 years that these Israelites who are now being forced to be Gentiles have to conform into the Gentile ways of life. This is 300 years that they have to assimilate into the ways of being a Gentile. This is 300 years that they have to forget all of the customs that they were attached to formerly as Israelites that they're no longer allowed to keep. So that's 300 years before Christ. By the time Christ comes on the scene and by the time Paul comes on the scene, these people are already fully ingrained and engrossed in this Greek culture, right? or Roman culture at the time, really, because now these white people have gone from being the Greeks to the Romans. So there's like vile things that the Greeks never did that the Romans are doing now, which is now part of the history. You know what I'm saying? So the gymnasium thing was started technically by Roman people. You feel what I'm saying? So that's how that go. Um, they're named they're labeled Greeks in the Bible, but at the time period when it actually happened, they're not technically going by the name Greek no more. They're either Idumean or Roman. So that's the yeah. Remember, the Greeks were the Israelites, tribe of Dan, Judah, and all them people that went over there. So yeah. But as I said, in Ephesians, we see that there's certain parallels to what he's starting to talk about to these Gentiles in Ephesians that are very, very, very similar to the things that he's talking to, not only just to the Romans, but also to the Corinthians, right? So we saw something in the 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 2, where he's telling them that they used to be Gentiles, right? You were once Gentiles carried away into these dumb idols as you were led. If we go into Romans chapter 9, and we'll start at verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. So Paul, once again, speaking of brethren in this book or letter, if you will, to the Romans, right? These aren't actual Romans he would be writing to, technically. These would be Israelite Romans he would be writing to, right? Doesn't say Israelite Romans because, there was no need to say that. If you remember the lesson I did 2 weeks ago, the last time I was on class with y'all, we actually went over a little bit of the map and the territories of this time period, right? So I got to show you guys Ephesus. I showed you guys Thessaly. I showed you guys Corinth and all them different places, right? You got to see them on the map. And I showed you, based off the time period, who was actually living in those places at the time. Happened to be us, right? So that's what y'all got to understand. Our people were the ones that were living in these places, right? That Paul is writing to. There were predominantly Israelite areas in the Greek state, right? That was taken over by Edomites that then changed the Greek state to the Roman state because the Greek state was never theirs. So they gave it a name of their own, which was Roman. You understand? So Paul is letting his brethren are the people that he's talking to here, that are his kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, right? So they're known as Romans, but they're Israelites. To whom pertaineth the adoption. Why is it an adoption? Why do Israelites have to be adopted? Because there's part of the Israelite community that isn't acting as Israelites. They're acting as Gentiles. So they have to be adopted back into the Israelite community, right? The glory, the covenants, right? With an S. The giving of the law, because that was only to the Israelites. In order for the Israelites to teach the other people, all of us have to be reclaimed in the law again, right? Certain precepts that we talked about are things that the whole discrepancy was about them last couple of weeks with the Isaiah 49:6, right? Those type of scriptures talk about the nuance that's going to be likened here, the nuance that's going to be seen within these scriptures, right? And it gives the order of how it's going to go, right? With one part of it being for one group, which is the Israelites, and the other part being for the heathen, right? Which would be the Gentiles. So here we have who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, and the service of God, right? They're the ones that have to serve the Most High. And through our serving the Most High, we will teach the other people to serve the Most High. So even the service of God will come through the Israelites, right? Goodness gracious, Carrie, you late. You late, fam. You late, fam. We've been here for almost, has it been 3 years? It's been a minute. It's been a minute. Shout out to SOT, though. I'm still a Son of Thunder. Originally, I'm a founder, but I ain't rocking the black no more. It's hot. So we wear blue now. That's all. Yeah. But good to see you though, fam. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. All right. I was gone for a week, so we ain't in the algorithm right now. We're gonna get back next week. This was just a little jump back class for YouTube. So yeah, but we here. We got a lot of lessons on the channel. You go check them out. You know what I'm saying? We got the Danite breakdowns. We got the history on why we keep the 7-day Sabbath. We got stuff on TD, the Snake of Jake. We got all type of different videos. You know what I'm saying? We got all type of stuff, history stuff. We still got the Sabbath morning brew. It's been going on. Jonathan got the Torah portion. That's a new thing that we didn't have at the other channel, where we literally breaking down just Torah. You know what I'm saying? So it's some things on here for you now. You can go check out. Got a lot of videos you can go learn some things from. So yeah, shout out to them brothers though. You know what I'm saying? It's all love still. All love. And for the ones who is hate, well, I hope they appreciate. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So as I was saying, that's basically what we got here, right? So these are the things that pertain to the Israelites. All right. So let's get into this Ephesians chapter 2. Now that we see the nuance here, is no difference than the things that he was saying to other people that we've already proved are Israelites in other lessons, right? So Ephesians chapter 2, we'll start at 11 once again. Says, wherefore remember that ye being in the past time Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. So, aka, you guys were Israelites that were living as Gentiles, and you're called the uncircumcision because you haven't been circumcised. You're like the people who we cut off, right? And you're called this by the circumcision, the people who are Israelites that have been keeping the law, right? AKA the circumcision, right? In the flesh made by hands. That at the time ye were without Christ. And they were able to do this because the circumcision are the people that are supposed to be with Christ and be the one keeping the law. They're trying to excommunicate the Jews or the Israelites that are not without Christ because they aren't keeping the law, right? And the point of the Israelite, the first thing we're supposed to do is to do what? Keep the law. Because through us keeping the law, we're supposed to teach the other nations to be righteous, right? That was the whole goal on earth. Every Israelite knew that, no matter what time period we were in. Something else we also happened to know and realize was that we weren't in a position to do any of those things because we went off. So what happened with Moses and the things that he told us would happen if we went off is the situation we've been in since that happened, right? So we were once these Gentiles in the flesh. You feel me? Because we were once acting like it. But now we have an opportunity to come back through this dispensation of time called grace, right? Yeah, we also got the Cornelius breakdown. You know what I'm saying? It's some real chubby brothers with nappy ass ugly locks that's trying to downplay what we taught in that video and openly in their comments saying that they just picking and choosing what it is that they want to talk about, and they ain't even show half of the stuff we showed to prove that Cornelius is an Israelite. But you know, we got a good lesson on that too, where we literally proved that Cornelius is an Israelite. So yeah, it's pretty good stuff. But Ephesians 2. So verse 12, it says that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. What does that mean? Well, you're people who are Israelites, but you're alienated from the commonwealth because the commonwealth would be the normal knowledge, the normal society, the people that are actually Israelites living as Israelites, you know, within the Israelite society. You're alienated from them because there were Pharisaical laws that stopped regular Israelites from dealing with these people, right? When you look into this chapter here that we're going to talk about, as I go down into this, we're going to hear something called a middle wall of partition. Some Israelite camps teach that this is a spiritual wall, like a divide, you know, the breaking of the bands between Israel and Judah, if you will, which technically it is part of that. That has a lot to do with it. But during the time of Paul and Jesus, there was literally a middle wall of partition within the temple that Gentiles, or the Gentile Israelites, if you will, were not allowed to go past this wall within the temple, even when going to worship Yahweh. Right? So that was the middle wall of partition that Paul was teaching had been broken down. So that's what we got there. You know what I mean? Sorry if y'all not interested in the class, but I got to teach it like this. You know what I'm saying? So hey, here's what it is, I guess. But verse 14, for he is, Salakia, 13. Let me finish 12. My bad. That at the time you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of the promise, right? But we know that the covenants, as we just read in Romans, are supposed to be for the Israelites. So if Paul, being somebody that wrote that the covenants are to the Israelites, him saying that these people were stranger to the covenants, as if they get to come back, is also him regurgitating and admitting that these Gentiles here are Israelites, right? So says that ye were aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of the promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But now in Christ, ye who sometimes were far off, not all the time, sometimes. And when it says afar off, it's not talking about their literal destination. It's a mental, this is a mental thing, right? You sometimes weren't dealing with us. You sometimes weren't within the confines of the mental capacity of an Israelite, having to do the things that an Israelite would do, wear fringes, keep the law, do your new moon, keep the Sabbath day holy, those type of things, right? That should be ingrained within the Israelite psyche, right? These Gentile Israelites, they don't have that. They don't have the light. They're without that. You know what I'm saying? So that's literally what he's talking about. Ye being sometimes afar off are made nigh by the blood of Christ. Now, because of Christ's blood, you guys can always stay near and try to stay within the law and try to keep yourselves here. You don't have to feel alienated because, now you have somebody letting you know that you have permission to come back and be just like everybody else, right? First verse 14. For he is our peace, right? Because that's supposed to bring you peace, being no longer alienated from the commonwealth of Israel. You an Israelite, you haven't been able to treat yourself or be treated like an Israelite because you grew up as a Gentile. So they've been treating you like a Gentile. But now you're being told they're not allowed to do that. They have to allow you to partake in your customs again as an Israelite and give you an opportunity to regain your Israelite customs, get back comfortable, keeping the Israelite customs, and then allow you to teach that to your family so that you can be regained and repopulated within the populace of the Israelite community, right? That's how it works. That's what they were being told. So verse 14, once again, for he is our peace, who hath made both one, right? Both kingdoms, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Jesus also told us, or Hamashiach told us in, John chapter 10 and verse 16, that I have sheep of another fold, which I must also bring in. So these sheep of another fold, if the southern kingdom is one fold and the northern kingdom is another fold, the sheep of another fold would be the people that he's talking about are the Gentiles, right? The wild branch, if you will, the wild olive tree. They get to be brought back, right? Grafted in again. You feel? Like it says in Romans chapter 11, verse 23. So, yeah. So both one and half broken down the middle wall of partition between us, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, right? Meaning abolished the things that separated us, the things that were bringing strife and causing strife and schism in the body, right? Even the law of commandments contained in ordinances. So Christians teach this is the law, statutes, and commandments, but no, the laws and commandments and ordinances. Ordinances in the Bible, especially in this time, are typically things that are given by oral command, right? Oral command by who, you say, Eliel? The Pharisees. So the Pharisees made certain laws that weren't technically biblical, that weren't Torah per se, but they went with the narrative of how the Torah and the Tanakh went at the time, right? So, for example, in the Tanakh, we have things like, Hosea chapter 4, verse 17. Let me read that real quick. Hosea chapter 4, verse 17. It reads, Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone, right? Their drink is sour. They have committed whoredom continually. Her rulers with shame do love give ye, right? The wind hath bound her up in her wings, and they shall be ashamed because of their sacrifices. So this is Hosea, who's an Israelite of the northern kingdom, right? Letting the northern kingdom know, and the southern kingdom, don't deal with the northern kingdom, right? Yeah, don't deal with these people because they joined the idols, right? The tribe of Dan, they was joined the idols. Ephraim, they was joined the idols. Issachar, Dan, Gad, Reuben, everybody in the northern kingdom joined the idols. You feel me? So they was left alone. Now, this is the beginning of the spiritual middle wall of partition, if you will, right? This begins what we call the breaking of the bands, right? The breaking of the brotherhood, the breaking of the stick that gets put together, right? The reason we make a 12 tribes chart is because Ezekiel 37 commands us to put the 12 tribes on a stick before their brethren, each group based off the kingdom that they belong to, right? So it's Ephraim and his companions, aka the northern kingdom, and Judah and his companions, aka the southern kingdom, right? That's why we split the 12 tribes chart up, northern kingdom, southern kingdom, because Ezekiel 37 tells us to do it like that and to make it a sign before our brothers and sisters' eyes, right? So we've done that. We have a 12 tribes chart for damn near every single hemisphere that we're in, right? Now, with that being said, when it comes to Israelites telling other Israelites to leave Israelites alone, Pharisees put certain rules in place to keep these things the way that they were, right? So Hosea is telling them, let these folks alone. All right. There becomes a law. Don't deal with the Samaritans, right? Once that happens, some of them start creeping in once the Romans take over and everything like that. So because they're around now, there become rules. Since the Samaritans have synagogues, they're still going to the Father to worship and everything like that. Those of them that creep into the synagogue areas of the Jews in the southern kingdom during the time of the Romans, well, and also those that are in Greek states like, Ephesus, Caesarea, uh, Thessaly or Thessalonia, those type places, right? Capernaum, Corinth, those type of places. If they're over there, then they're being ruled by Romans. You know what I'm saying? And it's putting them in a situation where them being ruled by Romans is them not actually being able to be Israelites. So if you're in Corinth, most likely you're living as a Gentile, right? It's just the way it is. So if you're Ephesus, most likely you're living as a Gentile, right? So that's just how it was. Now, these Jews are also there's also some of them that are part of the fold that have to be brought back. You know what I'm saying? Because not all of the southern kingdom, contrary to Black Hebrew Israelite popular belief, not all of the southern kingdom was right too. You feel me? Some of them had to get their stuff together and actually got brought back in by Paul in certain instances, right? So Paul was talking to two types of Gentiles in a lot of cases. Some of them were southern kingdom Gentiles, some of them were northern kingdom Gentiles. The fact is, they were Gentiles, people not living as Israelites, right? So, those are the people that are being given the opportunity to come back, to rejoin themselves, right? Hosea tells folks to leave them folks alone. The Pharisees make rules to keep things in place to leave those folks alone. All this is happening while Paul is telling you, don't leave these folks alone. Allow these folks to participate, right? So there becomes a quarrel, a discrepancy, which is why certain things that happen in the New Testament with Paul and Barnabas and being kicked out, always chased out of places, is because of certain rules that Pharisees already had in place. You also have to remember, there were followers of Christ that also had problems with things Paul was saying, because Christ told everybody that the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat, whatever they bid you observe. So the Pharisees, being smart, opportunistic people, some of them took opportunity to make rules that would make people have to follow things that they know Christ wasn't trying to get people to follow. Like, let's put a wall up in the temple so these brothers and sisters can't come past this wall and go into, we're going to make an Israelite outer court for Israelite Gentiles. And you can look this up and see that that's what the deal was. In fact, I actually will probably do that for you, so niggas don't say LEL be saying stuff. There was. Yep. All right, hold on. Let me share this. Let me share it. Y'all hit the like button if you haven't already, Baba Cashapp. I know y'all don't like learning real lessons, but I'm sorry. I got to do it. All right. Hold on. Let me take a sip. I'm the only one talking. Goodness gracious. Man, water's good. All right. Yes, during Jesus' time, there was a literal wall in the second temple in Jerusalem that separated the outer court of the Gentiles from the inner courts accessible only to Jews. This barrier was known as the Soreg, right? So this is a literal wall of partition and enmity We put up a wall because this ain't Gentiles that's coming through here. This is Israelite Gentiles that ain't allowed to go through the whole temple. They have to stop at a certain point because we're like, nah, y'all ain't been keeping the law for real. So y'all gonna you want to worship the Father? Brothers is telling us we have to allow y'all to do this, so we're gonna allow you to do it, but you only gonna come this far. And that's literally what happened, right? So, like that's things they had to talk about, and Paul did. Those are things they had to talk about. Paul did talk about it and explained to them the situation, right? So this was like a summary, if you will, in Ephesians, where Paul is explaining to them, yo, you were once Gentiles. You about to get the opportunity to come back, right? And there's a whole middle wall of partition, this whole wall of enmity. Yeah, we turn that down too, because y'all are supposed to be able to participate with no restrictions, with no discrimination. You're brought back into the fold. You're given the opportunity to have grace. You know what I'm saying? You're getting the opportunity to retry yourselves in the law and be able to regain your faith and your heritage as an Israelite, right? But you can't do that if there's a middle wall and there's certain things you're not allowed to do, right? Can you say you was doing a Nazarite vow? Is this wall in a place where you can't even give your sacrifice the way you're supposed to? So only the people from the southern kingdom can do it, right? There were other Nazarites. It wasn't you could be a Nazarite not from the southern kingdom. There were Danite Nazarites. You heard of Samson, right? There were brothers from Ephraim that wasn't cutting their hair, taking Nazarite vows. So it's like people had to be able to participate in certain things. There's rituals and stuff you have to be able to do, right? We have temples at this time. This ain't like now where we ain't got none of that. We had priests and temples, and they're literally forbidding Israelites from fully participating with the priest and the temple, right? So this is the literal mental wall of partition. It's not just some spiritual thing, right? It was spiritual because there's a breaking of the bands, which we're going to read in Zechariah 11, right? In fact, let's read that real quick. Zechariah 11 and 14. It reads, "Then I cut asunder mine other staff, even the bands, that I may break the brotherhood between Judah and Israel." Right? So he broke the brotherhood. He tore it up, right? And like I said, in Ezekiel 37, we're supposed to be putting it back together before our eyes. So that's the reconciliation, or the bringing back together, right? Reconcile. So, all right. Hopefully I understand that. So like I said, in John chapter 10, verse 16, Christ says he has sheep of another fold. We'll read that real quick. These are the people he's talking about, right? Whether it be people of the southern kingdom that are of, Second Maccabees chapter 6, that can't keep the feast days, can't call themselves Jews. These people became Gentiles, Greek Gentiles from the southern kingdom. There's also northern kingdom people that were Greeks, aka tribe of Dan, some of Simeon, right? They are also in the land, not being called, Danites. They not being called Danes. They're Spartans and Greeks, right? Like Celts and Scythians and like Thracians and Gauls, all these different names that we've gone over, right? So these are the groups: Romans, Corinthians, Galatians. Like these are the groups. These are Israelites. They're Gentiles. You feel me? That's why Paul's the one writing to these people. That's what they were called. These different groups, these different names, these different places are gentilic areas, if you will, right? So that's that, whether you understand it or not. Ezekiel 37 and 15, right? The 12 tribes chart. That's supposed to culminate and show the bringing back of these two groups of people. We will start at, I guess, 15. Is that what I want? The word of the Lord came unto me again, saying, moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and the children of Israel, his companions. So Judah and Israelites that are Judah's companions, aka Levi, Banyaman, right? So, and write upon it for Joseph, aka Ephraim, Manasseh, right? And their companion, the stick of Ephraim, right? And for all the house of Israel, his companions, right? Ephraim's companions. Who would that be? The northern kingdom, right? So now we have these two people, or two groups rather, that we're writing down, right? And join them one another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. So put them on the sign, right? And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Meaning, they see the sign. What in the world is this? What's these things you got on this sign? What's that? Well, brothers and sisters, we believe that the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans are the Israelites according to the Bible and history. That's what we're doing. That's what this is. That's what that prophecy is talking about, right? So, yeah, verse 20, and the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes, right? But verse 19, say unto them, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribe of Israel his fellows, and I will put them with him, even the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks wherein thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes, right? And say unto them, thus saith the Lord, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, right? So once we've gathered together, we put ourselves on this one stick. It's also symbolism of Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1, right? Gather yourselves together, O nation not desired, for the day of the chaff break forth, right? So this is that also, but the literal embodiment of that, which is why it jumps straight to we gonna be picked up from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. Isaiah 14, right? Yeah. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel. One king shall be king to them all, right? And this is going into now the certain things that are going to be happening with Isaiah 49, right? And they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all. Neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. And David, my servant, shall be king over them, and they all shall have one shepherd, Christ. They shall also walk in my judgments, the law, observe my statutes, which would be ordinances, and do them, right? Commandments. And they shall dwell in the land, Israel, that I have given unto Jacob my servant, Yasharallah, wherein your fathers have dwelt, and they shall dwell therein, even they and their children and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will place them, the Israelites, and multiply them, the Israelites, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them, the Israelites, forevermore. My tabernacle or temple also shall be with them, right? Yeah. I will be their power, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I am Yahweh, do sanctify Israel, or, make it a place that is the shining city on the hill. That is a sanctuary to the world. Sanctuaries are two things. They are peace, they are safety, three things: peace, safety, and a place of worship, right? Sanctuary could be a church. Sanctuary could be a damn homeless shelter, right? It could be one and the same. So that's what a sanctuary is significant of. That's the symbolism of it. And that's what Israel will be, right? Will be sanctified, right? And when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forever. All right. Yeah. So Ezekiel 37, explaining to you how we're going to come up, how we come together, right? Right in the midst of their faces. You feel? So that's that. What else we got? Do I want to do this? Zechariah 2? No. Let's get that. That's important. We almost done because this wasn't gonna be a long class. But let's read Jeremiah 50 and 33. Something else, right? To prove that these are Israelites, these Gentiles that are being spoken about that have to come together with other Israelites, right? Reason being is because in the last captivity, the Gentiles that are of this other fold and these Israelites that are of the fold Jesus comes from, they're supposed to be in captivity together. Which is how what we just read in Ezekiel 37 even is able to possibly happen, right? Because you got to remember, Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom are supposed to be separated, right? In the Old Testament. During the time of Jesus, they're still separated, right? There was nobody of the Southern Kingdom in mass, I'll say, in the Americas. Wasn't nobody on YouTube during Jesus' time, right? So that captivity hadn't happened yet. We hadn't been brought together yet, right? In order for us to put each other on a sign or make it one stick before our eyes, if you will, right? But what has happened since then, right, has put us in the position to allow certain things Jeremiah talked about to happen, like Jeremiah 50 and 33. It reads, "Thus saith Yahweh, or the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together. And all that took them captive," meaning no matter who it is, the Dutch, the French, the English, Russian, Arab, Chinese, whatever, right? African, you were oppressed together, and everybody that took you refused to let them go. Their Redeemer is strong. The Lord of hosts is his name, right? He shall thoroughly plead their cause, and that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. So, Lord of hosts, we teach, right? Who's the host? The angels of basically us and them, if you will. And the Lord of the angels and us is Christ, right? So he's the guy coming to redeem everybody. He's the Redeemer. That's who this was talking about. And in the midst of that happening, there's gonna be a saving of these people that are oppressed together. They happen to be two different folds, though, right? One was called Gentile, one was called Jew, but they're one of the same. They're both Israelite, right? So that's who Paul is talking to at this time. We see it once again in 1 Corinthians chapter 12. We see it in the book of Romans chapter 9 and chapter 11. We see it in what's the other one we read? Ephesians, Corinthians, Romans. Yeah. So we see it. I mean, there's a bunch of other places too, right? He says things like that in Thessalonians. So it's because it's literally certain people that what he was saying was meant for. Even when we get to Acts 13, when he said what he said there in verse 46 to 48, only those that were ordained to believe believed. Well, ordained is a word that literally is synonymous with predestination. And we know the people of the predestination were Israelites, right? So the people who were Gentiles that had to get the middle wall of partition broken down between them in order for them to, allowed a full retrospect of the grace to be able to coincide with Israel were Israelites. Because in order for the grace to be able to do what it's supposed to do, they have to be able to partake in it, right? They have to be able to be allowed to repent. They have to be able to be allowed to regain their heritage and nationality as Israelites and drop the title of a Greek. So that's what I wanted y'all to know. Hopefully it was pretty clear, because ain't really too many more precepts you could bring out to prove that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like it starts with Deuteronomy. You know that we were scattered through the four corners of the earth, Deuteronomy 28:64. And we know the slave trade happened, Deuteronomy 28:68. We know that John and James and Luke, Paul, Peter, they have certain people from afar that they speak to, specifically Peter 1:1 and James 1:1, where they're greeting Israelites from afar, right? Strangers to the commonwealth, or aliens to the covenant, right? So, like, these are people and things that were happening. We know in Acts chapter 2 and verse 5, we have devout Jews that were from all over the place, right? Not devout Israelites, but just Jews, just Southern Kingdom brothers from all over the place, right? That were still coming back to worship. We have Second Maccabees 6:6, where there's people that are of Israel, whether Southern Kingdom or Northern Kingdom, right? Because during this period, Dan and Judah, when I say Judah, I mean the kingdom of Judah, are put together in Greece, right? The Lacedaemonians happen to come into contact with the Maccabees, right? And they write letters to each other while in captivity to let each other know that they are, brethren, and that they got each other's back, right? Lacedaemonians were the tribe of Dan, and the Maccabees are Levites and Judites, right? The main Maccabee people were Levites, but they had armies too, and these armies were full of Jews, right? So that's what I want you guys to understand. We came together and put ourselves in a situation where, like, yo, we once were Gentiles, but now we're able to not be. And Paul was the prophet that was teaching the Israelites that were Gentiles that if they should so choose and decide they want to come back to the covenant, they want to act like a brew again, that's the man that they're supposed to go to. That's the guy that's giving them the right way to do it, if you will, right? Documents it, sends the letter to the church, and they can read it and, do what it says to be able to take back their heritage, if you will. That's what this was. So Ephesians 2 was no different than Romans, than Corinthians, than, Thessalonians, Philippians, Galatians, right? It's all the same. And it's the same group of people, right? So that's that, man. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope y'all understood it. I don't got nothing else. Next week will be a lot more entertaining and will be on time. So y'all stay tuned for that. Just to get the feet back wet lesson. Try to get back on YouTube. So y'all hit the like button. Share it if you want to. But if not, we'll see y'all next week. Y'all stay tuned for the classes we got throughout the week with the other brothers. You know what I'm saying? Thursday, Friday with the officers and the soldiers and stuff that'll be teaching. I don't know who's teaching it this week, but I know it's gonna be a pretty good class. And then of course Saturday with the morning brew. So we'll catch y'all next week. Y'all be easy, be safe. Much love. Shalom.